Hey up there. This video has been a very long time coming. I've been meaning to sort of make something along these lines for the last two and a half years. In fact, ever since I introduced the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 to the channel back in 2019, the only problem was there was a sort of ingredient missing that I needed for the video, and sourcing that ingredient was difficult because they're very rare. Now, this was actually the main reason for my visit to Hitchcock's a couple of weeks ago. And this video, along with the review of the Meteor 350 and the upcoming shop tour video of Hitchcock's, is actually courtesy of my patrons, people that donate money to this channel every month, enabling me to make content for everyone to enjoy. There was just enough money in the kitty last month for me to be able to afford the travelling expenses, because it's quite a way to Hitchcock's from where I live, and petrol's expensive. So thank you very much to those people, and rest assured I extracted the maximum content I possibly could from the day so that you guys are getting your money's worth. I checked out the sales figures for the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 this morning before making this video, and I didn't realise just how out of date I am with the current situation. The Interceptor was the UK's best-selling naked motorcycle last year. It even knocked the BMW RGS series off top spot, a position that it's enjoyed for over a decade. And the figures suggest that it's on course to do exactly the same this year. I knew when I very first saw the initial reports of this bike being in production that if Royal Enfield got the recipe right, they were going to have a hit on their hands. I honestly didn't expect it to be such a big hit. Motorcycle snobbery is one of my pet hates, and jealousy is an ugly thing. And what I didn't expect when I took the Interceptor on was the pushback that I was going to get from Triumph owners. I'm not tarring all Triumph motorcycle owners or fans with the same brush, but for the first few months that I had the Interceptor, I got more than my fair share of abuse. Because I'd taken the Interceptor on, and in a lot of these people's eyes, Royal Enfield is an inferior brand, and as I was told only this weekend in the comments, Triumph is the only true iconic British motorcycle. Apparently, none of the other dozen or so brands existed. I was publicly hung, drawn and quartered on Facebook. I was abused and even threatened here on YouTube for daring to add a Royal Enfield to my collection of motorcycles. And of course, if you behave like that towards a Yorkshireman, he'll just do it all the more, which is why I now have 3 Royal Enfields in the channel stable. I will always champion a cause that I think is worth it. Now, one of the biggest criticisms I got about the Interceptor is that it was just a poor man's copy of the Triumph Bonneville. I got a slew of these comments at the time, and they've continued right up to today, that basically the Royal Enfield Interceptor is not an original design concept. Royal Enfield needed a win, and the only way they could get that win was to directly copy the Triumph Bonneville. After all, Royal Enfield have only ever made the bullet-derived models. Apart from that, they have absolutely no other history. Now, I did start off by trying to explain in the comments to people that the Royal Enfield Interceptor was a true model back in the 1960s. But for the most part, these guys were having none of it. They didn't believe it. And over time, the ignorance of these people has really started to grate on me. So when Dan at Hitchcock's told me that they had a 1969 Mark II Interceptor, and that I was welcome to come down and make a comparison video if I wanted, I jumped at the chance. Now, we generally refer to the current iteration of the Interceptor as the Mark III, but technically it's sort of a Mark IV. I'll go into that in a moment. As you will see when I finally get round to doing the Hitchcock's shop tour, Hitchcock's is an Aladdin's cave of all things Royal Enfield. They have made it their mission to save and preserve various Royal Enfield motorcycles dating back to 1910. This is a private collection of iconic motorcycles, including 3 Interceptors, this Mark IA, a Mark II that I'm going to show you in a moment, and even a prototype Mark III, a bike that was destined to go into production if it hadn't been for the original Royal Enfield going into liquidation. If it had, the current Royal Enfield Interceptor could have looked very different. Now, this video isn't intended as a historically and technically correct comparison of the Interceptor Mark II versus the current Interceptor. It's purely an aesthetic comparison to settle an argument that's been thrown at me for the last 2 years. Even back in the day, the 750cc Interceptor was a rare thing on British roads. It was an export model aimed at the US market, a sort of scrambler or dirt bike. In fact, originally it was a bare bones bike that didn't even come with a lighting kit. Initially it didn't do very well. Not being a road legal bike, customers shied away from it. But when all the accoutrements for road legal use were added, the bike took off in the States. And although it was perhaps never as famous as the Bonneville, it accrued a devout following of Royal Enfield customers that helped to keep Royal Enfield afloat in the later, darker days. This is a relatively original 1969 export model, and it's only when you see both of these bikes together that you realise that the current Interceptor 650 is very much styled along the lines of the original Interceptor and not the Triumph Bonneville at all. The curious ski ramp style seat, the upswept silencers, the distinctly styled tank, and even the aesthetics of the engine are 100% 1969 Interceptor. Although the layout of the engine has been swapped around somewhat to suit modern standards, all the original design cues are there and they're present in the new bike. The only major differences are the design of the frame, which is a little bit different, and of course the fact that the new bike is fitted with disc brakes front and rear in order to comply with modern braking standards. So whichever way you look at it, the current Mark III or Mark IV, depending which school of thought you subscribe to, is a faithful homage to its 52-year-old grandfather, the 750 Mark II. Royal Enfield may well have been playing Triumph at their own game, I don't doubt that, but any suggestion that the Interceptor is a rip-off of the Bonneville is completely unfounded. In fact, it's ridiculous. In fact, as a Yorkshireman playing devil's advocate, considering the fact that some of Royal Enfield's innovations and design achievements were copied by Triumph back in the day, twin shock rear swing arm suspension springs to mind, it is actually the Triumph that's a copy of the Royal Enfield. I just thought I'd put that out there. Right, once again, thank you so much for watching this and my other videos, and in doing so helping to support this channel. I really do appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing to this channel. You know the drill. I will of course be back on Friday. So until then, please ride safely. And whilst all the trolls race off to the comments section to hit the dislike button and leave a blatantly desperate comment, the rest of us can listen to this 52 years young 750cc Mark II Interceptor in action. Here we go.